I'm going to break down every single Big 12 team before the season starts. I'm going to release them sporadically, but we're going to start at the top and then go through each team. So first off, in first place, I've got the Houston Cougars. Houston is going to be dominant this year just like they were last year. I mean, in the Big 12, they went 19-1 and won the conference, and I see a very similar season coming for them this year. I mean, they were a few seconds away from being the national champions last year, and I mean, they are just as dangerous and have the potential to win it all this year as well. I mean, they're returning a lot of stars. They got Milos Uzan, they got JoJo Tugler, they got Emmanuel Sharp, all coming back. I mean, Tugler was the defensive player of the year last year in the Big 12. Uzan had 11 points per game, 4 assists a game. Sharp had 12.6 points per game. Great three-point shooter. Those are three key pieces of this starting lineup returning. And on top of that, they got one of the best recruiting classes in the entire country. They've got the second highest rated recruiting class in the Big 12 as well. So they've got some good talent coming in, and they're keeping their guys. So let's break down a couple of those freshmen that will be important for this team. I mean, the biggest one, no question, is Chris Sinak Jr. He was the number 7th ranked recruit by 247 nationally. I mean, he is going to be a problem. On top of that, this team is going to be bringing in 2 4-star recruits, and Isaiah Harwell and Kingston Flemings. Both guys are also top 20 in the nation. The number 1 recruit from Texas and Flemings, and the number 2 recruit in Utah behind AJ DeBansta and Isaiah Harwell. That's 3 stars they're bringing into this lineup that's already returning Uzan, Tugler, Sharp. I'm not going to lie, I am a little worried about the depth of this Cougars team, especially with how high defensive motors this team has and how much of a very... I mean, not like saying Samson likes to run a fast team, but he likes to run a very high-intensity team, especially with what he requires of his players on defense. I'm a little worried about the depth come March, but when it's talking about preseason, regular season, and just the top-end talent this team has, I mean, they have the potential to be holding up the national title trophy come March, or I guess technically April. And so for now, I've got the number 1 in the Big 12. Coming in at number 2 in the Big 12, I've got BYU. I agree. I think the AP poll has it correct that it goes Houston and then BYU second. I mean, there's a lot of debate for Tech. I'll get into Tech in a different video. But I really do believe BYU is going to be the second best team in the conference this year. I mean, they're returning a lot of good product. They had a good transfer portal. They have an amazing freshman class. Like, they did great at all 3 levels this offseason. So let's start with the returners. For the returners, I mean, the main 2 guys for me, and the big guy, obviously, is Richie Saunders. Averaged 16.5 points per game on 43% from 3 last year for BYU. He has the potential to be an all-conference first team for the Big 12. This conference is so stacked, I'll get into a different video about my conference predictions, but I have him all Big 12 second team because he is just that level of talent. He's a great scorer. He's an amazing shooter, which is what BYU wants to do. They want to fire threes off like no one's business, and that's what he's going to bring this team. However, on the other side of that, they bring back Keba Keita, which I think is a very, very, very underrated player in the Big 12. I mean, he's not going to be on any all-conference teams. He's not really even going to get any attention. But for the style of play BYU likes to play, they love to have 4 guys out shooting threes. They love to fire up threes. They love to have stretch guys and shooters. But you still need that paint presence. You need that big body to go get boards and to be able to have that defensive presence in the paint. That's what Keba Keita is. He is a physical specimen. He only averaged 7 points and 8 rebounds a game. Those numbers don't jump off the chart. But when you watch him, his impact is clear for this BYU team. He is a monster in the paint, and he's going to hold down the fort in there so that all the rest of the guys can stay on the outside and fire up threes. So he is a huge bring back. They also brought back Dawson Baker. He's a bench guy, 7 points per game, good 3-point shooter. Again, just fits the BYU system, and it's always nice to have as many returners as possible that already know Kevin Young's system. But the real story of this offseason, obviously, we'll go to recruiting first. I mean, it's AJ DeBansta. They're bringing in one of, if not the best freshman in the entire nation to this team, which, I mean, for BYU, you'd expect, I mean, the Darren Petersons, the Cameron Boozers of the world, they're going to Blue Bloods, they're going to Kansas, they're going to Duke. AJ DeBansta decided to stay home in Utah and go to BYU, and I mean, I love the choice. I think it's going to be a great fit for him. It's going to be a team that he's going to be able to get a lot of minutes and points early and have a huge impact. I mean, it's going to be between him and Saunders being the number 1 option on this team. I mean, I'm really high on Saunders, but it probably is DeBansta. And I mean, we've seen it in some of the scrimmages already so far this year. So, in my opinion, I have DeBansta number 1 on my big board of recruits going into next year. It's so close between him, Peterson, and Boozer. But I think they have the number 1 freshman in the nation. And we saw what it can do for teams like last year with the amazing freshman team of Duke and obviously Cooper Flagg being an absolute baller. They're getting a guy like that. They are getting a guy that's going to come in and make an impact immediately. So, huge get for BYU in the recruiting class. And that's not even counting. They got 2 more 4-stars. They got Xavier Stanton, Chamberlain Burgess, and they also got a foreign France prospect, Dominique Diomande. So, they got some 3 stars, they got some 4 stars, and then obviously they got maybe the number 1 recruit in the nation. Love what they did on that aspect. but their transfer portal is almost just as good. They have the second best transfer portal ranking in the Big 12 because they brought in a lot of good guys. They brought in Rob Wright from Baylor. I think he's going to be an amazing fit. You're losing Igor Dimon from BYU. He ended up going into the draft. He's now on the Brooklyn Nets. He got drafted in the first round. You lost your playmaker. You lost your point guard to the draft, but they replaced him amazingly. I mean, Rob Wright will be great at running the one for BYU. I mean, 11.5 points per game at Baylor last year, 4.2 assists per game. He can dime it out. All his job is simple. Get a bucket when you need him to, but his job is just to get the ball to Richie Saunders and get the ball to AJ DeBansta. I would love that job if I'm Rob Wright. So he's going to be great at running the one. They got a couple buckets in the transfer portal class as well. Kennard Davis Jr. averaged 16 points a game last year at SIU. Tyler Mears, 38% three-point shooter on over 6 attempts a game. So he fits the BYU system perfect. He's going to be firing up threes. And he averaged 10 points a game last year at Idaho. So they got their shooters. They got guys that fit this system that BYU wants to build. They've got some good returners, good transfers, good recruits. Just an amazing offseason, in my opinion. I also really love what Kevin Young has done with this program in just 1 year, bringing in all these former NBA coaches and people who have been in the league that know what a professional system is like. And they're bringing that style of basketball to college, which I think is one of the biggest advantages any team has. I mean, there's some great coaches in the Big 12, don't get me wrong. I still think Kelvin Sampson's number one, but Kevin Young, with his experience in the NBA and the staff he's put around him, it's got to be up in contention for one of the best coaching staffs in the Big 12. So overall, I really don't see a lot of flaws with this BYU team. I wouldn't even be surprised if they somehow end up at 1, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they somehow end at 3, 4, or 5. So right now, I like the 2 spot. Now, coming in at number 3 in my rankings, I've got Texas Tech. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, in my opinion, they are a top 8 team in the country, and they're 3rd in their conference. That's just how stacked the Big 12 is at the top. I would not be surprised to see the Red Raiders take home the conference championship come March for the Big 12, but I like BYU and Houston a little bit more on paper going into the season. But that's nothing to knock Tech. Again, I think they are a top 8 team in the country, and let's break down why. I mean, the biggest storyline, they're bringing back maybe the National Player of the Year this year in JT Toppin. I mean, an absolutely amazing forward for this team. Averaged 18 points, 9 rebounds last year. I mean, it's between him and Braden Smith early on for National Player of the Year. And he definitely is the favorite for Big 12 Player of the Year as well. I mean, they've got maybe the best player in the conference, despite maybe what the freshmen can do to put up a case for that. And so that in itself, great start for Tech. They also bring back Christian Anderson, which I think is a huge, huge piece and a huge bring back. I mean, he was a freshman last year. He dealt with some injuries, didn't play a ton. So maybe a lot of Texas Tech fans or non-Tech fans would know a lot about the guy, but he is due for a big breakout this year. Average 10 points per game, 38% from 3. He can fire from anywhere. That 38% feels almost even a little bit low, but it's just because he's going to take some deeper shots as well. And he needs to step up for this Tech team to be as good as I think they're going to be. But I have no doubt that he is going to progress this year as well. On top of that, an amazing transfer portal class, top 5 transfer portal class rated in the Big 12. And it's all led by LaJawn Watts, in my opinion. I love what this guy out of Washington State did. He is an everything type of player. In my opinion, he could be better than Christian Anderson and could be the 2 for this Tech team next season. He averaged 13.7 points a game last year for Wazoo, but 6.7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 42% from 3, 1 steal per game. He can do everything. He's that 6'6" forward guard type ability. He's going to probably play the 3, maybe even the 4 for this Tech team that can be a little bit smaller and play top end at the 5 sometimes. But overall, he can do whatever this team asks of him. And I think he's going to be the Swiss Army knife that brings this whole Red Raiders team together. So I love Watts. They also got a couple of other good guys. They got Donovan Atwell, an amazing 3-point shooter from UNC Greensboro. Last year, he averaged almost 14 points a game on almost 40% 3-point shooting on 7 attempts a game. He's going to shoot, and that's what you need for this Tech team. If you want to run your game through the paint and through JT Toppin, you need to surround him with shooters. Christian Anderson's that guy. Atwell's that guy. Another guy I want to mention, Tyree Bryan, 42.9% from 3 last year at Santa Clara. Another shooter. So they brought in some shooters around JT Toppin. On top of that, they brought in Josiah Mosley and Luke Bamboyo, both 4 stars in the transfer class. Neither played that much. Bamboyo played about 16 minutes a game last year at VCU. And he's going to be their big shot blocker. That's what he's going to be. They're not going to need him to score. He's going to play the 5 if they don't want to put Toppin there. They want to move him to the 4. I'm not sure if he'll start or if Toppin will start at the 5, but he's going to get minutes, and he's going to just be that paint presence that Tech needs. 2.1 blocks per game in only 16 minutes of action. Can you imagine if you give him 30 minutes a game at Tech, he could average 3.5, 4 blocks a game almost, it sounds like. And that's what they need. They need that paint presence. They need a guy that can get to the boards. Average 3.3 boards a game, so not a huge number, but again, only on 16 minutes, so not a huge sample. If you give him some more minutes on this Tech team, I think he can get that number up to 5 or 6 or even more as he progresses as a player. And Mosley didn't play much last year, but he is a 4-star they're bringing in as well. On top of that, they brought in a couple freshmen. Not the best freshman class. I mean, they're ranked 14th out of 16th in the Big 12. They bring in Jalen Petty, 127th nationally ranked player, but the number 15 point guard in the nation. So he will be in the rotation. Outside of that, I don't know if Nolan Groves or Mario Akuntak will make the rotation, but there is some depth pieces for them. Overall, I like Tech. They've got the star power, and if everyone plays to the best of their ability, again, they can be the number one team in the Big 12. You got Toppin, you got Anderson, you got Watts. I love those guys. And then you got shooters around them. But I just don't see as much on paper that I love about this team as much as I do BYU and Houston. So that is why they're 3. But again, this is still a top 10 team in the nation that has the potential to win the entire national championship come April. Coming in at number 4, I've got the Arizona Wildcats. Now, 4, 5, and 6 were really hard to place. The top 3 were pretty solidified in my rankings. 4, 5, and 6 between Arizona, Iowa State, and Kansas. I went back and forth and switched these rankings about 10 times. But my final preseason ranking is going to be Arizona. Now, what you need to know about this Arizona team is they're going to be highly reliant on their freshmen. So they are very boom or bust. If these freshmen can come in and be what we expect out of them, a Koa Pete, a Braden Burries, a Dwayne Aristode, if they come in and be top 30 guys and for 2 of them top 10 guys like they're projected to be, this team has, the sky's the limit. They could even be a potential Big 12 champion come April. But it's hard for me to rank them that high and project them that high when we don't know what we're going to get out of them yet. However, let's start with the returners. They do have some good returners coming back. Obviously, Caleb Love, some of those guys are done. They're bringing back Jaden Bradley, though, a really good guard. Averaged 12, 3, and 3 last year with 2 steals a game. He's going to need to run this team until the freshmen step up. I mean, I don't know how quick Burries and Pete and Aristode are going to fit into the system and how quickly they're going to have their breakouts. I feel like it's going to be pretty quick, but at the start of the year, it's got to be Bradley. And he's got to be the leader of this team. The offense has got to run through him. And so I think as long as he is the number one option, there is kind of a cap for the ceiling for Arizona. But once those freshmen step up and become the players that, they're projected to be, this Arizona team, again, the sky is the limit. So they've got Bradley. They also have Toby Awaka coming back, 8 points, 8 boards. He's that big presence. He was the 6th man last year. He'll start this year for the Wildcats. And he's just that big presence. He'll get you your boards. He'll get you a bucket every once in a while if you need it. But the scoring, they've got plenty of scorers. The scoring is going to go through other guys. They're also bringing back Del Orso and Krivas. Both guys average about 8 points a game off the bench. So again, some good points and some good minutes coming back for the Wildcats. But the story of this team is the freshmen. You've got Braden Burries, number 9 player ranked nationally for freshmen coming into this year. He's the number 1 prospect coming out of California. And he looks it. From everything I've seen on film from this guy, he has the potential to put himself in the top tier of freshmen for college basketball this year. I don't know. He's not in that AJ DeBansta, Cameron Bruiser, and Darren Peterson tier. Those guys are a tier of their own. But the second you get through 4 through 10, I like Burry's chances to be 4. I'm not saying he's going to be. That's not where I'm projecting him, but he will be a top 10 freshman in college basketball this year. Then they've also got the number 11 ranked freshman this year in Koa Pete coming in. So if both these guys can live up to the hype, this team is going to be amazing. I have a few more worries about Pete, to be honest, but he's still going to be a great player and going to adjust quickly to college basketball. And then on top of that, the guy that gets left out of the equation for all of this because you've got 2 top 11 guys is Dwayne Aristode, number 29 nationally, the number 1 prospect out of New Hampshire. He is also going to be a big piece of this Arizona team. So a lot of reliance on the freshmen, but we've seen in previous years and just in college basketball in general, that's not a bad thing. Duke last year was the number 1 freshman rated class coming into the year, and they made the Final Four. That's not always how it works out, but Arizona's rated as the 2nd best recruiting class in the entire nation, just behind Duke again. So I really do believe that they are just fine relying on the freshmen. As long as Bradley, Awaka, those type of guys can hold down the fort at the beginning of the season, by the end of the season and come March, I don't think the Wildcats are a team you want to see and you want your team to be facing. So for that reason, They are my 4. It was very hard to put them above Iowa State and Kansas. I think technically at the start of the season, they won't be better than Iowa State and Kansas with the experience, especially of Iowa State that they're bringing back. But projection-wise, I think come at the end of the year, Arizona's the fourth best team in the conference. Coming in at number 5, I've got Iowa State. Now, Iowa State is a team that's going to be very reliant on their returners. I mean, they've got maybe the best big 3 coming back of any team in the conference. I mean, Houston has an argument for that, and I probably would give it to Houston. But Iowa State probably is the second best returners coming back for their team. You've got Joshua Jefferson, averaged 13 points per game. He's got potential to be maybe even first team all conference for the Big 12. That's where I've got him rated, I believe, preseason. Maybe he's second team. But he's going to be on one of those all conference teams for the Big 12. On top of that, you got Tamin Lipsey, a great guard. Milan Malevich, sorry, I may butcher that name a little bit, but he's a great guy. 11.5 points per game, 39% from 3. That big 3 is really going to carry this Iowa State team. However, I do kind of see a ceiling for this team. We've seen these guys last year. They lose their best scorer in Curtis Jones. He's no longer on the team. He's in the NBA now. Didn't do a ton in the transfer portal that excites me. They do have a pretty good freshman class. They've got the number 24 rated freshman class by 247, the 6th best in the Big 12, which is, again, just a crazy thing that the 6th best in the Big 12 is still top 25 for recruiting classes. Shows how deep this conference is. But they got a couple good 4-stars. Jamarian Bateman's the one I want to point out, number 42 nationally, number 1 in Wisconsin. He's going to be a big piece in this team. And the good thing about this freshman recruiting class for Iowa State is that they don't need to be stars the second they show up. They've got their guys in Iowa State. Again, you've got Jefferson, you got Lipsey. You've got guys at the top that will be perfectly fine to start the season. So the freshmen don't have to play as big of a role as you're asking out of a DeBansta, out of a Peterson, out of those guys at Arizona, Pete, Burries. You're asking a lot of those freshmen early on for those teams. Iowa State, that's not the case. These guys can kind of just fit into their roles and fit in where they're needed, which I think is a huge strength. Being able to just come in and fit a role rather than having to be the star, I think will help the development. I mean, technically it could hurt the development because they're not the star, but I think it will help the team more that you're not so dependent on these freshmen to come in and be stars. So I do think Iowa State is going to be a really good team. They have potential to finish a lot higher than 5th in this conference. I just do see a ceiling with this team that is a lot lower than I see with those top 4 teams, just because we've already seen a lot of these guys on the roster last year, and they ended up around this spot in the Big 12 last year. Obviously, were a early exit in March Madness as well. They lost in the second round to Ole Miss, I believe. And so this team, definitely a March Madness team, definitely could make it to the top maybe 4 in the Big 12. I just don't see a ceiling where they're top 1, 2, or 3. But overall, very good team. And I'm with TJ Otzenberger as the coach. Love him as a coach. Iowa State Cyclones are still going to be a problem, but I currently have them at 5. Now, coming in at number 6, I've got Kansas Jayhawks. Now, they definitely could be a lot higher than this. Again, that 4, 5, and 6 between Arizona, Iowa State, and Kansas, it was really hard for me to pick which one should be where. For now, I have to put Kansas 6 just out of what we saw out of them last year. I know this is a completely different team, but seeing a team go from preseason number 1 to barely making the tournament, and just how much they haven't lived up, I guess, to the hype, at least these last 2 years. It's hard for me to want to put too much hype and stock into this Kansas team for this year, but they have all the potential to be a lot higher than this. I mean, they've got Darren Peterson. I've already mentioned him a couple times in this episode, but he is maybe the number 1 recruit in the nation. I currently have AJ DeBansta 1, Peterson 2, Boozer 3, but I mean, any one of those 3 could be the number 1 freshman in the nation, and he already looks it. I mean, in those scrimmages games for Kansas, he looks amazing. He's a bucket. He'll average probably over 20 points per game for this Kansas team. He can average 5 assists a game, and that's probably what they're going to need out of him to be successful. There's not really any returners on this Kansas team. Hunter Dickinson's finally out of college. A lot of the other guys have moved on. The only really important returner this Kansas team has is Flory Badunga. He was a high-rated prospect last year in his freshman year, 6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game. I expect a lot more out of him because his role will also be a lot bigger. I think Badunga will average over 10 points a game, could even get up to that 8 rebounds a game mark. And if he can average almost near a double-double for this team, that's going to be crucial for their success because they don't have a ton of amazing bigs, and he's going to be that for them. Let's move over to the transfers for this team. The eighth best transfer portal class in the Big 12. So right in the middle of the pack, they got 3 4-stars in Trey White, Melvin Council Jr., and Jaden Dawson. All 3 guys that average over 10 points per game, respectively, at their old schools. For Trey White, he averaged 10.5 points per game at Illinois. He was a good contributor for that Illinois team that made it to March Madness last year. Melvin Council Jr., he was at a smaller school at St. Bonaventure, but I mean, the stats look amazing. 14.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 4.1 assists. He can also help with that playmaking duties for Kansas to take some off the load of Peterson, because Peterson's going to be asked a lot for this Jayhawks team. And then Jaden Dawson averaged 14 points a game at Loyola. So they got a really good transfer portal. It's not as deep as some of these other Big 12 teams have for transfers, but I mean, 3 4-stars, you can't complain. And they're all guys that will get in the rotation and get minutes early for Kansas. Now let's get to the recruiting class for Kansas. They've got the 3rd best recruiting class in the Big 12. Obviously, a lot of that is off the back of just having Darren Peterson, which I believe 247 has rated as the #1 freshman in the nation. But that's not their only freshman they're bringing in that's going to have an impact on this team. They've got 3 4-stars, 2 of which I really like, which are Cole Rosario. He's the number 74 ranked freshman in the nation, and then Samis Calderon, number 84 nationally. Both those guys will get into the rotation and get minutes. So it's going to be a very interesting team. The reason Kansas I have at 6, under the top 5, which is not where they're used to finishing. They usually finish top 5 in the Big 12 every year, but last year I think it's been like a decade since they haven't been top 5 under Bill Self. And so honestly, they probably will end top 5. It was just hard for me right now to see on paper how they are better than the Iowa States, the Arizonas. I mean, Peterson's going to be amazing. He's going to be the truth. Badunga is going to step up this year. They got some good transfers in. They got some good freshmen. But there's just not enough. There's just something about this team that I just can't put higher. I mean, outside of Peterson, there's not ever anything else I really necessarily love. There's a lot of guys I like. I like Badunga. I like White. I like Council. There's a lot of guys I like, but not a lot of guys I love. Whereas for Iowa State, I know there's multiple guys I can trust there. For Arizona, I know they're freshmen, but there's a couple guys I feel like I can trust there more than I do for the second option on Kansas. So a lot of this team is going to be on the back of how far can Peterson carry them? And the answer is really far. I mean, he is that good. He can carry them on a long run in March. If he can get some support from Badunga, from the transfers, from some other freshmen, this Kansas team could make it to a Final Four. But currently, I think they sit in the 6th spot for the Big 12, and I think that's a good spot. Coming in at number 7, I've got the Baylor Bears. Now, 7's where I've got a little bit of a drop-off. I feel like there's a lot of different tiers in the Big 12. You got the top 3. You've got Houston, BYU, Tech. Those are going to be the top 3 in any order you want. I think a lot of people agree Houston's 1, but the other 2 are debatable. 4, 5, and 6. It's Arizona, it's Iowa State, it's Kansas. They're all interchangeable. Going on from that like 7 to 11 tier, I could see any of these 5 teams kind of switching around. But currently, at least preseason, I'm trusting what Baylor's done in previous years and the guys they brought in. So let's get into it. They don't have any returners that are of note to mention. None of their major guys are coming back. Obviously, their best player was VJ Edgecombe. He went to the draft, top 3 pick to Philadelphia, and we've already seen what he can do in those preseason games and early on in the season. I mean, first game dropping over 30 points. Insane debut for Edgecombe. But yeah, for Baylor in general, they don't really have any returners, which is kind of a scary thing for most sports. Basketball, though, I'm not as worried. Obviously, you always want returners, but college basketball has always kind of been a sport where you can kind of shift guys in and out. You're always going to have a lot of new recruits coming in. The transfer portal is kind of newer-ish to the sport, but you're always used to having a lot of guys interchange in and out of your rotation. So I'm not too worried on that sense. However, it did knock them out of that tier above because of that reason. But they got plenty of talent. This transfer portal class, they got 5 4-stars. They have the number 23 transport class in the nation, the 4th best in the Big 12. So let's go through the list real quick. You got Daniel Skillings. He averaged 9 points a game at Cincinnati. You've got Jocelyn Bodo from High Point. I loved Bodo High Point. He averaged over 9 boards a game over the last 2 years. He's going to be a great big presence for Baylor and a great rebounder, which Scott Drew is going to love. You got J.J. White, averaged 13 and 4 at Omaha last year. Michael Rataj is probably my favorite of this transfer portal class. Averaged 17 points a game, 7.2 rebounds a game at Oregon State last year. Another great forward for this team. I think him and Bodo together at that 4-5 is going to be amazing for this Baylor team. They're going to have a great paint presence, which is going to be a little bit of a shift maybe of recent years with some good guard play. And then they also have Obi Agbim, averaged 17.6 points per game at Wyoming. So they got a lot of scores. I mean, again, Skillings 9 points a game, but White, Rataj, Agbim, all averaged over 13 points a game last year. So they're bringing in some good scores because they got none returning. And on top of that, they've got a good freshman portal class, or freshman recruiting class. I keep wanting to say freshman portal class. They've got the 5th best class in the Big 12, and that's all in the back of Tunde Yusufu. He's a 5-star, the number 14th nationally ranked recruit, number 3 in California. So another top 15 recruit in the Big 12. This one going to Baylor. We've already talked about the Arizona guys, the DeBanstas, the Petersons. You got another guy that's probably going to slide under the radar because I believe he is the 5th highest ranked freshman in the Big 12, yet he's still top 15 in the nation. That is just... Actually, no, he's the 6th highest. I forgot about Houston with Sanak Jr. So he's the 6th highest ranked freshman in the Big 12, and he's number 14 in the nation. That is absolutely insane. The Big 12 is going to be carried a lot on the back of freshmen this year. But he is just what he is as advertised. He's really good. I saw him in that scrimmage for Baylor early on this year, and I mean, he just looks like he's going to come in and be the number 1 option for this team. I like Rataj. I like a lot of the transfers, but this is another team that's probably going to be led, and their number 1 option is going to be a freshman, which is going to be Yusufu. On top of that, they brought in Andre Iguodala's son, Andre Iguodala II. He's a 3-star, and then a couple other freshmen. So it's a very new team. I do trust Scott Drew. I mean, he's made it to a Final Four. He's won a national championship at Baylor. I don't love that there's not a lot of returning action or returning players, but the transfer portal class looks good. You got a star in Yusufu, who's very underrated, so remember the name, for Baylor. And I think a lot of this team's success is going to be on the back of, can he be as good as those other top 6 freshmen in the Big 12? And I think the answer is yes. Again, he won't be in that Peterson or DeBansta tier, but I mean, he can be in that tier with Sanak, with Burries, with Pete. And I think if he can be in that tier, his Baylor team can finish 7th in the conference. Coming in at number 8 for the Big 12 rankings, I've got Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, the Cincinnati Bearcats, they close out the top half of the Big 12, I guess, for me. But just like I mentioned in that last episode with Baylor, that 7 through 11 range, honestly, I could see finishing in any order. So I could see them finishing 7. I mean, at their peak or their ceiling, they could finish as high as 6 or 5 if those Iowa States, Kansas, or Arizonas don't live up to the hype. But I have them in this 3rd tier with Baylor. And a lot of that is due on their transfer portal class. Now, we'll start with the returners, then we'll get into the transfers. The returners, there's only one really to mention. The only guy that's of any importance to mention is Day Thomas. He averaged 10.2 points per game, 40% shooting from 3. He can fire it from the outside like no one's business. He will be a key piece and a key scorer for this team. I expect that 10.2 points per game number to jump up, as well as he is one of the only familiar faces for Wes Miller's system. But let's get into that transfer portal class. 3rd best transfer portal class in the Big 12, which if you told people Cincinnati was going to get that over, I mean, there's Tech, Baylor's, Kansas State's. I mean, Kansas State is the number 1. Spoiler for maybe one of the next teams. But that Cincinnati's getting the 3rd best transfer portal class, that is huge for the program. No joke there. The number 19 transfer portal class in the nation. They had 10 players transfer out. So, I mean, they lost a lot of talent, but they're bringing in 5 4-stars and a 3-star. So let's break down a couple of those 4-stars real quick. You got Baba Miller coming in from FIU, 11 points per game, 7 rebounds a game. He's going to be a dog. Jalen Celestine, 7 points per game at Baylor. A lot of these numbers for these guys sound lower. They weren't getting a ton of minutes at the places they were before, but they were highly recruited out of high school, and they've got all the talent that you need to be a good player. So maybe compared to, I mean, I just talked about Baylor. A lot of those transfers, you're hearing 16 points a game. Well, I kind of do like maybe Baylor's transfer portal class a little bit better than Cincinnati's, even though Cincinnati's is rated higher. Their numbers don't show how good of players these are. Like Kerr Krissa, the next guy, he's a 6th year. I mean, he had 3 years at Arizona, a year at West Virginia. Last year, Kentucky averaged 9.3 points per game, or in his career, he averaged 9.3 points per game, 4.3 assists per game. His stats weren't as high last year at Kentucky, but I mean, if you've seen this guy play at West Virginia before, he's got the swagger, he's got the skill, and he's going to be a great shooter for the Cincinnati team. They also got Mustafa Thiem from UCF, 10.4 points per game, but the big thing here, 6.4 rebounds per game and 2.6 blocks per game. Huge paint presence. Him and Baba Miller are going to be great in the front court for the Bearcats. And they also brought in Sincere Harris from West Virginia. A lot of familiar faces from the Big 12 as well. Like a lot of these recruiting classes for Baylor or for those other teams are pulling guys from mid-majors or pulling from other conferences. Cincinnati just decided to stay in the Big 12. I mean, again, they got Celestine from Baylor. Kerr Krissa was Arizona and West Virginia before he was Kentucky last year. Thiem was UCF. Harris was West Virginia. They've got guys that know the Big 12 and how this brand of basketball is played, and they've played in my opinion, the best conference in college basketball. So they got a lot of Big 12 experience. They also brought in Jalen Haynes, 14 points per game at George Mason last year. So a good transfer portal class. In my opinion, it's not the 3rd best in the Big 12. I'd have it a little bit lower, but I do like a lot of the pieces in the Big 12 experience that Cincinnati's bringing in. Now, the big thing for Cincinnati is going to be the recruiting class. Now, they have the 7th best in the Big 12, 2 4-stars, but the big thing that all of Cincinnati season is going to ride on, in my opinion, is Sean Abaeve, and he is amazing. He is a freshman technically by eligibility, but he's played in OTE. So if you've seen him, if you've heard the name before, that's why he played in Overtime Elite, and he was, a good player there. But if you saw him in Cincinnati scrimmage this past week, he looks like he is in that tier of high freshmen in the Big 12. And I keep talking about the insane freshmen that all these other teams have had. Abaeve is going to go under the radar, and in spoiler for my preseason conference, all conference teams, I have him on my 3rd team. I really, really love the experience he's bringing in, again, spending years to Overtime Elite. So he's not like a guy that just came out of high school. He's been playing at a higher level of basketball than high school, almost kind of like a foreign prospect coming in. And then just in general, he can score from anywhere. His shot, so smooth, and just watching him in that scrimmage, he is just a walking bucket. I wouldn't be surprised if he leads the Cincinnati team in points. It's going to be between him, Dede Thomas. A couple of the transfers could get in there as well, but they've got a well balance of scores, which I think will be good. I think Sean will be the number 1 option on this team, in my opinion. But what I like about this team is the depth. They've got plenty of depth. They got every single one of those transfers I talked about is going to get minutes, and they're going to get a lot of them. You got Dede, you got Sean Abaeve. And not to mention, they still have another freshman in Kayshawn Tillery, that was number 57 ranked nationally, which, sounds like a bigger number than what I've been talking about, but for most of these schools, that is their best recruit. Just they were also able to get Sean. So overall, a lot of talent, a really deep roster. Honestly, I kind of wanted to put Cincinnati above Baylor, but just because I haven't seen it yet. Baylor I haven't seen yet either. Obviously, they're all transfers and freshmen, but I've seen Baylor and Scott Drew have more success recently than Wes Miller's Cincinnati team. That I'm going to have Cincinnati the 8th spot, but I would not be surprised to see this team finish a lot higher. Now, coming in at number 9, I have Kansas State. Now, Kansas State's a very, very hard team to rank for me. They have the number 1 transfer portal class in all of the Big 12. They have an amazing, amazing transfer portal class, and overall, they have the number 4 transfer portal class in the nation. So this is a team that is bringing in a lot of talent, but they don't really have a lot of talent that is still on the team from last year. They got 4 guys returning, 3 of which didn't even play 10 minutes a game. Not a lot of notable names to mention for what Kansas State's bringing back, but it's because they're bringing in the stars. They've got all the backup, the cavalry is coming in for Jerome Tang's squad. So let's go straight into the transfers. We have to start with PJ Haggerty, the number 2 ranked transfer in the nation. In my opinion, I had him at number 1. He's coming out of Memphis, 21.7 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.8 steals per game. He can do it all. He's going to get the steals, he can get boards, he can facilitate, but really, he's a bucket. He has all conference first team potential, and he has the potential to lead the conference in points per game. Now, there's a couple other guys I think that might do it. We'll talk about one in a minute, but for Kansas State, he's going to lead this team in scoring. He's probably going to average 20 points per game. But he's not the only reason this team is highly rated in the transfer portal. They got 2 big 4-stars I want to talk about, Nate Johnson and Abdi Bashir Jr. We'll start with Bashir Jr., 21 points per game on Monmouth last season. Now, I know Monmouth isn't some big school. It's not the same as averaging 20 points per game, even out of Memphis or out of Kansas State. But he's a bucket. He will score. He's going to be a great second option for Haggerty to get buckets when the defense is bringing a lot of attention to Haggerty, and he'll also help get a lot of the attention off of Haggerty because of his ability to get his own shot and make a bucket. But the guy I really like the most out of this transportal class is Nate Johnson. For those of y'all that follow me on social media and saw what I talked about last year, I was really high on Akron to maybe pull off an upset in March Madness. And that was on the back of Nate Johnson. He was the player of the year in their conference last season at Akron. Averaged 14 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 1.7 steals per game. So he can be a great ball handler to help out Haggerty, but he also is just a bucket. And he's got that star potential, in my opinion. The 14 points per game doesn't scream off the stat sheet, but when you watch those Akron games, he felt like the star to me. He felt like the guy that would turn up when you need him to do. He'll go get a bucket when you need him to. He'll go make a play when you need him to. He's a great energy defender, averages a steal and a half, or a little over a steal and a half a game. So I think he's going to be crucial into how this team fits together. The only thing I do worry about with this team a little bit is only one basketball. They got a lot of scores. They got a lot of good players, and that's why their transportal class is ranked so high. I'm not exactly sure how they're all going to fit together schematically. A lot of guys that want to go get a bucket for themselves. A lot of guys that want to be the facilitator probably for the team. which those two things together could work out really well because you got a lot of guys that can make plays, score buckets, pass the ball. But again, there's only one basketball. So I do worry a little bit about that. I also worry a little bit about the defense for Kansas State. That's why I have them below Cincinnati and Baylor in this tier. But they definitely have the star power and talent. I mean, the fourth best transfer portal class in the nation. They have the talent to finish a lot higher than ninth. But because of how they work together schematically to me, I can't really have this Kansas State team any higher than 9. Coming in at number 10, and probably the last team I'm going to give a full in-depth breakdown over is Oklahoma State. After this, I'll probably break down 11 through 16, just knock them off really quickly. But the last team and the team that sneaks into the top 10 for me is Oklahoma State. Now, obviously, being from Oklahoma State, I wanted to put them higher. I couldn't put them any higher than 10 right now, but I mean, they have dark horse potential to end up above Kansas State, above Cincinnati, above Baylor. I could see them finishing, no pun intended, no joke intended, 6th or 7th in the conference. And it's a lot on the back of this transfer portal class and what Steve Lutz is building here in Stillwater. Only one returner, Robert Jennings, the second, only averaged 5 points a game. It's really the transfers and a couple freshmen that are going to be the stars for this Oklahoma State team. So let's get into that transfer portal class. Now, I mentioned a minute ago with Kansas State, I think PJ Haggerty has the potential to lead the conference in scoring. My actual pick is Anthony Roy. Now, Anthony Roy was leading the entire nation in points per game and scoring last season before his injury at Green Bay. He averaged 25.7 points per game with 5.3 rebounds a game and 43% from three. And I don't know if y'all saw him in the scrimmage against Auburn. Those numbers are legit. He can go get a bucket. He can finish at the rim. He can shoot the mid-range. He can shoot the three, and he can shoot a lot further than the three. He'll pull it from the logo or shots that you're like, ooh, why are you shooting? Oh, that's in. Like, that's the type of player he is. There's a lot of shots that maybe coaches won't love, but they're always going to end up hitting nylon. So that is what I love about Anthony Roy, and I think he's going to be the piece that runs this offense and really leads this Oklahoma State team. But in that scrimmage, you also saw Isaiah Coleman. He's a guy, he was a 4-star in the transfer portal, averaged 15.6 points per game and 5 rebounds a game at Seton Hall last year. So the Big East, a Power 5 conference in college basketball, and he's putting up those numbers. And we saw in that scrimmage game, him and Roy are going to be a very good 1-2 punch for the Pokes. I mean, they both could have 20 point per game type of nights. I think Roy will average over 20 points per game. I don't think Coleman will average over 20, but I mean, I could see him around 16 to 17 points per game while also bringing in some boards. On top of that, Victorious Miller, 9 points per game at LSU and at that SEC conference that was really competitive last year. Christian Coleman, didn't get to see him in the scrimmage, but he's a great player out of UAB. 11.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game. And then honestly, the big piece that I loved, especially from that scrimmage, he's not as highly rated as some of the other guys, is Jalen Curry. Maybe it's because he's got the name Curry, so it feels like he should be a baller. But, I mean, he's a lefty. He's got amazing handles. He can facilitate. He had to get a lot more buckets for himself at his previous school. But this year at Oklahoma State, I think he's just going to be more of a true point guard, facilitating, getting a bucket when you need him to. I think he got about 15 points in that scrimmage against Auburn. But he's going to run the offense. And that's what Oklahoma State needs. I feel like in previous years, they haven't had a true point guard. They haven't had a true one, really, since Cade Cunningham, it feels like. Last year, there was a lot of different guards. Arturo Dean was kind of the point guard, but there was just a lot of different guys that dribbled up the ball and you had plays run through. I think outside of Anthony Roy having his own actions and having his own ISOs, the team is going to be run through Jalen Curry as the point guard. And I think that is a huge, good, fundamental piece for this Oklahoma State brand of basketball. And then just on top of that, all these pieces together, they're guys that love to run, they love to hustle, they can play defense, they can shoot the three ball, which is exactly what Steve Lutz wants to do. He did it at Western Kentucky. He's bringing that identity over to Oklahoma State and building a whole new culture. I mean, next year, this Oklahoma State team is going to be a lot higher than ranked number 10th in the conference with the freshman recruiting class they're putting together. But for this year, I do have them at 10 right now. It feels low, but it is the Big 12. I mean, this roster on paper feels like if you said they're 10th in their conference, and just what you saw out of them in that Auburn scrimmage. I know they didn't look as great in the SMU scrimmage, but this team feels like they should be a lot higher than 10th. And I think, honestly, they will finish higher than 10th. Just on paper, I could not put the Cowboys above any of the top 9 I already listed. So I've got the Cowboys at 10. Now, coming in at number 11, I said Oklahoma State might be the last one. I think West Virginia is going to be the last team I talk about. I've got the Mountaineers at number 11. I think they close out this third tier. I talked about the top 3 are a tier, 4 through 6 is a tier, and I feel like 7 through 11 is a tier in the Big 12 men's basketball conference. I could see West Virginia ending up as high as 7, but currently I do have them at the bottom of this third tier. And a lot of it is because they don't have really any returners that there is of note. They've got a new head coach. A lot of players into the transfer portal are graduated. Obviously, Javon Small is gone. DeVries is gone. Their old coach, DeVries, left for the Indiana job. But they've got a new good head coach in Ross Hodge. He came from North Texas. And North Texas coaches have been kind of a pipeline for, college football and college basketball. You've got Grant McCasland, the current Texas Tech head coach, came from that North Texas system. Now you've got Ross Hodge coming in. I think he's a great coach, and I like what he's building. I feel like this season, though, for West Virginia will be kind of similar to an Oklahoma State from last year, where they brought a lot of good transfer portal talent. It's a new coach still trying to figure out his system and trying to get players that fit that system. I think this West Virginia team in the coming years, especially if Hodge sticks around, will be a lot higher. But currently for this year, I couldn't put them any higher than 11. So let's get into this roster. They are a full transfer portal team put together. They're the number 6 transfer portal team in the Big 12. And they've got 8 different transfers we got to talk about. I'm not going to hit them all real quick in this video, but I'm going to go through the main ones. Obviously, the biggest one, Trayson Eaglestaff. He's a 6'6 forward. He spent the last 3 seasons at North Dakota and averaged 19 points per game last year with 41% field goal, 36 from 3. He's a shooter. He's a scorer. Those field goal and 3-point numbers are a little bit lower just because he was asked to put up so many shots at North Dakota. But I think on a team where he won't be asked to put up as many shots, his efficiency will get better. But there's no doubt he's a scorer. Being able to put up 19 points a game, you watch him on film, he can shoot the 3 ball, he can finish near the rim, he can get mid-range. He's a 3-level scorer. That 6'6 forward is kind of that perfect build to kind of do it all. And I think Eaglestaff will be a great leader and I think the true one option for this West Virginia team this year. Now, a couple other guys to hit. Brennan Lorient came from North Texas with his coach, Ross Hodge. Averaged 11.7 points per game, 57% field goal percentage last year at North Texas. He also had 5 rebounds a game, 1 steal a game, 1 block game. He can kind of do it all. Now, I think what's special about him is he's coming with Hodge, and he's not the only one, actually. Jasper Floyd, a 3-star, also coming from North Texas with Ross Hodge. And when a coach brings over some players, that's always a good sign. One, it's because he's comfortable with them. They know his system. But that means he wanted them again, and they want to play for that coach again. That's a two-way street that you love to see, that these players know that this coach will put them in the best positions to win, and the coach knows that these players will put him in the best position to build a roster that can win. I like Lorient. I like Floyd for that reason. They both average about 10 points per game, can get some assists, can get some rebounds. That's nice. On top of that, they add in Honor Huff from Chattanooga, 16.3 points per game between the last 2 seasons, and a 42% 3-point shooter on 8 attempts a game. He's not shooting 41% on 2 or 3 attempts a game. He's shooting 8 attempts a game. Basically, half his attempts came from the 3-point line, and he's swishing them at a 41% clip. He's an amazing shooter and going to be great for this West Virginia squad. And I feel like that's the story. They've got a lot of shooters. They got Eaglestaff that can shoot. They got Huff that can shoot. They've got some other guys that can shoot. So they've got plenty of shooters that they're bringing in. They've also got a couple good bigs. Chance Moore, he's not a big, he's actually a guard, but he kind of plays like a big. 13 points per game, 6.5 rebounds a game. He, unfortunately, cannot shoot 25% from 3. That's his big kind of flaw, but he's a scorer. He'll finish around the rim, and you need some guys like that. They're also bringing in the 7-foot center from UNCW, averaged 9.2 points per game, 6 rebounds a game last year for UNCW. He's going to be a great piece. On top of that, for the freshman class, a couple guys I want to hit: Jaden Forsyth, Amir Jenkins, both top 150 nationally, both number 2 in their states. Forsyth was number 2 coming out of Pennsylvania. Jenkins was number 2 coming out of Massachusetts. So they've got a lot of talent. It's, again, one of those teams of how's it all going to gel together, especially in the first year under a new head coach with Ross Hodge. But I do really like Ross Hodge. I think they will be. I compared them to Oklahoma State from last year. I think they will be better than Oklahoma State was in their first year with Steve Lutz. I think they did get a better transportal class, a better freshman recruiting class than Lutz had to kind of deal with coming into his first year at Oklahoma State. But overall, this is a team that I could see finishing as high as 7th, maybe even a little bit higher than that in the Big 12. They've got the potential, but right now they're at the bottom of that tier 3 for me, just because there's a lot of pieces. I don't know how they're going to gel together, and it's a first-year head coach for the Mountaineers. Now, to round out my rankings, I've got UCF at 12, TCU at 13, Utah at 14, Colorado at 15, and Arizona State rounding out the group at 16. Now, I don't have a lot to say about these bottom feeder teams in the Big 12. I feel like a lot of their coaches might be gone after this year. There's not a lot of high ceiling or potential out of any of these bunches. UCF maybe is the most interesting, which is why I've got them at 12. They have 11 transfers. If you thought I was talking about a lot of transfers for the West Virginia team or for the Baylor team or any of those teams that brought in a lot of guys, the biggest transfer portal class in the Big 12 was UCF. They brought in 6 different 4 stars, 5 different 3 stars. However, one of those 4 stars is out for betting on games, so he will not be playing a game this year. So really 5 and 5, 10 transfers total. So they're a very interesting team, but again, I don't love relying too much on the transfer portal. I know I'm kind of maybe being a hypocrite that I like when you have a good freshman class, but not transfer portal class. But I think transfers and a couple coming into your system is good. But when you've got 10 different guys, it's just hard to bring that many guys into a locker room new that have already kind of had mindsets and kind of already been shaped as players elsewhere. Like women's basketball head coach JC Hoyt was talking about this, that it sometimes can be easier with a freshman because they don't have any mindset for what college basketball is like. You kind of get to build them up as a player brand new. When you're bringing in transfers, you kind of sometimes have to break old bad habits that other coaches have put into them. Not to say that the experience is not good. Obviously, it's great to have experienced players, but sometimes it's easier to get a freshman plugged into your system because you can build them up over the summer into your system specifically and not have to break all these old habits that other coaches or other systems have placed on them in college basketball so far. So I don't love UCF for all the transfers. For TCU, they've got 2 freshmen that I do like. They've got Xavier Edmonds, freshman, loose term, freshman by eligibility because he was the number 2 junior college recruit. So he played junior college basketball already. But now that he's entering into D1, he's a freshman by eligibility. So he's the number 2 JUCO recruit in the nation. I really do think he can be good for TCU. Caden Edwards was the number 49 freshman rated in the country. Number 4 in Texas, which Texas, high school basketball, a good state for high school basketball. He's the 4th best coming out of Texas. So both of those guys, I think, have a good potential for TCU, but I don't really love any of the returners with Diallo. The transport class wasn't great. And outside of that, not really much to say with Utah, Colorado, Arizona State. I don't really see a world where these aren't the bottom 3. I mean, maybe that'll be clipped in 3 months' time when we get a football scenario and one of these Arizona State makes a last to first. I mean, that's not going to happen in basketball. But makes like a 16th to 10th or something like that. Sure. And injuries happen, so maybe some of the top teams will fall off and one of these teams can slide up a little bit. But on paper, those are the 3 worst teams in the Big 12, and there's not a debate. So, yeah, that is my 16-team ranking for the Big 12. Let me know what y'all think about the different teams and where I have them, and if I'm too low on someone or too high on someone. Now, let's break down my all-conference teams for the Big 12. Now, I know that's not how the Big 12 does it, but I made a first, second, and third team, and I also put a coach with each of these teams. Just give me a chance to talk about more players, and like the preseason for the Big 12 one was just 10 players all on the same team. I broke them up into different teams, so there's more to talk about. So for the first team for the Big 12, I've got Miles Uzan from Houston, Darren Peterson from Kansas, PJ Haggerty from Kansas State. Those are 3 guard spots. Then I've got JT Toppin from Tech and AJ DeBansta from BYU. I tried to break all of these teams up into 3 guards and 2 forwards because honestly in the Big 12 there's a lot more guards that I like than forwards. So I did 3 guards, 2 forwards per team. So let's break it down quickly. Each player. Miles Uzan, I think he's going to be the number 1 option for Houston. I know it's kind of maybe, for some people, they're going to believe it's going to be Sharp. I do like Sharp, but I think Uzan's going to be the guy that has to step up. He's going to step up into the LJ Cryer role while also filling his old role as well. I think his points per game numbers are going to increase by a lot. I think his assist numbers are going to go up a lot. And with Houston being, in my opinion, the number 1 team in the conference, they're going to have a player on all-team first team. I like Sharp, but I don't think he's all-conference first team kind of player. I like Tugler. I don't think his offense will get him into the first team. Obviously, he may be Defensive Player of the Year again for Big 12. So I think Uzan's going to be the one. I think Sampson loves his guards. He loves his transfer guards. I mean, we just saw it with Cryer, that they get a year to build up in the system, and then they're going to take over. That's what it feels like Uzan's takeover is about to happen. And I think his numbers are going to significantly jump up, and he'll be first team all conference. Now, next guy I want to talk about, I'll hit both these at the same time. It's Darren Peterson and AJ DeBansta. It's the 2 best freshmen in the nation, in my opinion. The 2 best freshmen for sure in the Big 12. There's a ton of great freshmen in the Big 12, but DeBansta and Peterson, I mean, they both would be number 1 draft picks in probably 75% plus of drafts in NBA history. Outside like the Cooper Flag year, maybe, and they'd be debatable with Flag. Definitely not the Wembanyama year. But a lot of those years with like Anthony Edwards, something like that, I think both these guys would be a better prospect than Anthony Edwards was coming out of college. For very different reasons. Peterson, he's that guard. He's going to go get a bucket. He's going to average maybe 20 a game for Kansas because there's not a lot of talent around him. So I think his numbers alone will get him on this team. But also, I mean, he can facilitate well. He can get some rebounds. He's a very complete player. He's not like triple-double level, but like I could see it in a world where he's going to be pretty good at all three levels of points, rebounds, and assists. DeBansta, he's a scoring forward. He's going to be one of the best scoring forward prospects we're going to see for a while. He can go get a bucket. He can get rebounds. I could see him averaging like 20 and 8 for BYU. I think his numbers are the only reason I worry about him being on the first team with Richie Saunders and some of the other talent BYU has. For Kansas, there's not a lot of other talent and scorers, like elite talent and scorers around Peterson. I think his numbers are going to be amazing. He'll be first team, no debate. I could see DeBansta not being first team just based off the fact that Saunders is going to take up a lot of shots, a lot of points, a lot of stats. Rob White's going to do that. So I think there's more talent around DeBansta where he won't be asked to do as much. But I think a BYU player is going to make all conference first team. It could be Saunders, but I like the other three guards better than Saunders. So I'm putting DeBansta in there for first team all conference projection. Last two guys I want to talk about, two very established guys. It's PJ Haggerty for K-State, JT Toppin. JT Toppin is potentially the National Player of the Year. Preseason, it's him or Braden Smith right now for preseason. For National Player of the Year preseason is what everyone's saying. It's Toppin or it's Braden Smith. So he may win Big 12 Player of the Year again. He's an easy lock for all conference first team. PJ Haggerty, it was between him, it was between Saunders, between Sharp, a lot of different guys that I was debating on for that last guard spot. But I mean, Haggerty is in a position kind of like Peterson where he's going to probably average a lot of points. The stats alone are going to get him on the first team. I don't think K-State's level of play is going to be as high as, I mean, the Houston's, Kansas, Texas, BYU's, or Texas Tech's. But he will average probably 20 points a game. He'll get some good assist numbers. He'll get some good rebounding numbers. He's going to be a star. He's already very well established, so his numbers are going to be good at the beginning of the season, where a lot of those freshman guards, it may take a minute for them to warm up. So overall for the full season, I think PJ Haggerty will make the full first team. So once again, I got Uzan, I got Peterson, I got Haggerty, Toppin, DeBansta, and for my coach, I don't think there's a lot of debate. It's Kelvin Sampson. He's the best coach in the conference. Houston, if it weren't for them being in the Big 12, could go undefeated in almost any conference. They still went 19-1 in Big 12 play last year somehow. I think that number may shift down a little bit, maybe like a 17-3 this year, but they're probably going to win the Big 12, and it's a lot in part due to Sampson, his coaching style, his system. So I'm putting Sampson as maybe the coach of the year for the Big 12. For the second team all Big 12, I've got some hot takes in here. I got Christian Anderson for Tech, Anthony Roy for Oklahoma State, Richie Saunders for BYU, Joshua Jefferson for Iowa State, and JoJo Tugler for Houston, and I got Grant McCasland as the head coach. Christian Anderson, I'll make it simple. I talked about it in my Texas Tech breakdown. I think he at least should be the second best player on Texas Tech. I mean, Watts is up for debate, and we'll talk about him on the third team. But he's going to take a big second-year leap. He's going to be the main ball handler for Texas Tech outside of them just feeding Toppin in the post. So his assist numbers are going to be high. His points per game numbers are going to be up great. He shoots the three ball really well. I think he's just a very complete guard and losing a lot of other guards in Tech. I mean, Overton's gone. Elijah Hawkins is gone. There was a lot of guards in the backcourt last year for Tech. This year, the clear one guard for Tech is going to be Christian Anderson. So I think his numbers are going to look great. I think the second team is a great spot for him. The biggest hot take probably on this list is Anthony Roy. Now, people can call me a biased Oklahoma State fan, but I think he's genuinely going to lead the conference in scoring. I think he's going to average maybe 22 points a game, and that will lead the conference in scoring. And if you're leading the conference in scoring on great efficiency numbers, I don't see any world where they don't put him on the second team over some guys that maybe are on better teams with less numbers. But again, I think the stats alone will put Anthony Roy on the second team for the Big 12. He's a walking bucket. Again, going to average over 20 points per game. He can shoot from anywhere. His three-point percentage is probably going to be close to 40% again. I would like to say it's going to be over that, but it's going to be hard with the amount of shots he may put up. It might not be over 40%, but it's going to be right around that 40% number. He's going to get some assists. He's going to get some rebounds. He's going to get some steals. I think his stats alone will put him on the second team, regardless of how Oklahoma State's performance as a team is. Now, the next one, Richie Saunders. I really highly debated putting him on the first team over Haggerty potentially. I really like Saunders, and I really like this BYU team. But again, I think DeBansta is going to come in, take a bigger role away from Saunders a little bit. And just overall, I mean, Haggerty's numbers and some of those other guys on the first team are just going to be having a bigger role on their teams than a Saunders, who may not have as big of a role as those first team guards or even an Anderson or a Roy. But Saunders is a walking bucket, 40% plus from 3-point percentage. He's going to average over 15 points a game. He is a great player. and definitely on second team. Now, I know the big question here, which I'll get to it in the next video, Manuel Sharp, not first team, not second team. I'm a little bit lower on Sharp than a lot of people, and it's not even anything against him. It's just the talent of guards that there is in the Big 12. I mean, with Peterson coming in, with Roy coming in, with Anderson stepping up, with Haggerty coming in, there's just a lot of new great guard play in the Big 12, and I think that slots him into third team. But we'll get into that for the third team. The last two people I want to talk about for the second team, Joshua Jefferson. He could definitely be a first-team player over AJ Dybantsa, again, depending on the roles and the usage of Dybantsa and how quick AJ gets out to being the star for BYU. I am going to put Jefferson here just because his numbers won't look as great as Dybantsa's are obviously definitely not a top ends, but his role is going to be big on a good Iowa State team. He's going to be the best player on Iowa State this year, in my opinion, over Lipsey. He's going to average close to maybe a double-double, like 13-8, 14-8, maybe even with Curtis Jones gone, there might be some more points for him. He could even get up to like 16-8. But for that reason, I think he is the best forward on the second team, and I've got him on the second team all conference. Final player is JoJo Tugler. He's a hard guy to rank. I mean, if he wins Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year again, which I honestly think he will, it's hard to not. You could say he's first team or you could say he's third team because his offensive production is not going to be there, but that's not what he's there for. He's out there to make amazing defensive plays, and he is the best defender in the conference. So regardless what his offensive stats look like, which I think his offensive stats could go up a little bit, it's his defense that's going to get him here, and his defense speaks for himself. He's the best defender in the conference, and that puts him on the second team. Lastly, I've got Grant McCasland as the head coach. I just really like what he's done very quickly at Texas Tech. I mean, honestly, they were a couple plays away from the Final Four last year. They had the lead against Florida, the champions, but sold at the end, which was just the story of March Madness. Almost every team sold at the end against Florida. But I really like what McCasland's done in his few years at Tech. I think Tech's going to be a top 3 team in the conference, and he's the second best coach for me this year in the Big 12. Now, to round out my all-conference teams, I've got a third team. Now, again, for the Big 12, they don't actually do a third team, but I did just because I want to talk about some more players, and it would be a crime to leave some of these guys off of an all-conference team. That's just how good the Big 12 is. And so we're going to start off with Emmanuel Sharp for Houston. I talked about him a little bit with the second team. A lot of people are going to have him first or second team. I have him down at third team. I know it's a shock. I think Uzon is going to step up a lot more this year. I think Sharp's numbers are still going to look good, but compared to just the elite guards in the Big 12 this year, again, all the new faces with Peterson coming in, Haggerty coming in, Roy coming in, which is probably my hot take that I've got Roy over Sharp. There's a lot of new faces. Oh, and not even to mention Anderson, I think, is going to step up a lot this year. So outside of like Saunders and Uzan, who've already been here and established in the Big 12, a lot of new faces that I just have jumping Sharp. Nothing against Sharp. I just think those guys are just really, really great players. So I've got Sharp on the third team. Probably will end higher, but that's where I've got him. Tamin Lipsey for Iowa State. I think with Curtis Jones gone, his points numbers and his assist numbers are going to go up. He's going to be asked to play a bigger role for Iowa State. Also, Gilbert's gone. So they had like a three-headed monster in that backcourt last year. Now Lipsey's the last of the three. So his role is going to have to step up, which means his numbers, in my opinion, are going to increase. And just as a player, he's going to fill that role and be better this year than he was last year, as long as he can stay healthy. He's battled with some injuries. I think as long as he stays healthy, there's no question he ends up at least on a third team if there was a third team for the Big 12. Now, the next one, maybe a little bit of a hot take, maybe not. I've got Braden Burries for Arizona. I really love him. In my opinion, he is probably the third or fourth best freshman in the Big 12. Again, you've got Dybantsa, you've got Peterson at the top. I guess technically I've got him as the third highest freshman right here over guys like Kristanak Jr. For Houston. I like him, but he's not going to play as big of a role as well with the other guys they've got at Houston. I think Burries is going to quickly become the number one in Arizona. Obviously, Bradley will start out as the number one option in Arizona. I think Burries, everything I've seen about him on film, he just looks legit. He looks like a baller. He looks like a complete player. And I think he will fill a really big role for Arizona early on. And I think that leads him to the third team. LeJean Watts, I really wanted to put him second team. I just couldn't put him over a Tugler or a Jefferson. But Watts has all the potential to be one of the best players in the Big 12 this year. Toppin's the number one option on Tech. I said Anderson's number two option, Watts 3. It's hard for me to not think that Watts might be the number two option, especially if Anderson doesn't make as big of a jump as I am projecting. Watts could easily be the second option. He's a complete player all around. He can score, he can shoot from three, he can rebound, he can assist, he can block, he can steal. He can do it all as that 6'6" forward, medium-sized build. I think he's just going to be amazing for Tech this year and a real key to them making it as far in March Madness as they will. I think it will be the Swiss Army knife of the Red Raiders is what Watts is going to be. And that's why I've got him third team, all Big 12. Finally, I've got Sean Abave for Cincinnati. This is probably the biggest hot take I have. There's a lot of forwards that could have gone here, but I went with Sean. I think the experience from OTE, what I saw out of him at that scrimmage, I actually didn't have him third team all Big 12 when I started this list until I watched that scrimmage, and I mean, he just looks legit. His craft already looks put together. What I've seen of him at OITE, what I saw of him at that scrimmage, he's a bucket. He can score from anywhere. His shot looks beautiful. And I think he's really going to have to step up and be the leader of this Cincinnati Bearcats team. And for that reason, I think his numbers will be good enough. I think his role will be big enough that'll get him onto the all-conference third team for me. Finally, for the coach, I've got TJ Altenberger. I went back and forth. I really wanted to put Kevin Young here, but I also didn't just want all the coaches to be the top three coaches for the top three teams. I think Altenberger has done a great job with the roster he's had in the past, and I think he will. Again, his floor with his teams is so much higher than a lot of these other coaches. He's very much a floor raiser. I'm worried about Iowa State's ceiling, so maybe Altenberger wasn't the greatest pick for third team. Maybe it should have been Kevin Young, but I just didn't want it to be the top three coaches on the top, or I didn't want the coaches of all these teams to be the top three teams I'm projecting. So I think Altenberger would do great with his squad, especially after losing Gilbert, after losing Curtis Jones. He's going to need to coach a team and a couple players to step up, and I think they will. So yeah, that is my all-conference preseason teams for the Big 12. Let me know what y'all think.